So, the first tournament of the new format is out of the way, and overall I would say I did okay. While I pretty much ruled myself out of top 8 performance, out of a spot in the top 8 after the third round, I still managed to finish with a respectable 3-2 result. So I can't say I complained too much about that, although my losses were pretty damn depressing because I literally had nothing to their answers, which kind of annoyed the crap out of me. I brought Elite Beat Hero back for this week, just because of the whole hype being, triple rider. It's nice. And going 3-2 is pretty. It's a pretty good performance for me, so I'm pretty happy with that. So round 1 I played against Lightsworns. I had an alias to beat stick over everything, and then eventually I ended up losing it. And my only other the only other access to monsters I had were through an E-Core, which was bribed, and a Photon Thrasher, which I topped into. I mean, aside from the Hero Blasts. But so I eventually got that and managed to get over him, and then game 2 I basically just ran him over. So it was a more sort of casual, not like incredibly competitive sort of Lightsworn player, and basically didn't really do that much. So thankfully that wasn't a terrible thing. Round 2 though, I played against Zing, and opened the Raigeki in hand, which against that matchup was just the polar opposite. It would have been nice game 2 a 3 and a 3 if I had it. But yeah, basically just didn't have the answers. Game 2, game 1, yeah, and then game 2 pretty much steamrolled me again. And that's exactly what happened again in round 3. I played against 6 Samurais, and he hit me with a 6 strike something or other that wiped my entire back row, which actually pissed me off in hindsight because he went through his entire turn way too goddamn fast, and I should have freaking pulled him up as soon as he dropped his last 6 Samurai monster, because I knew, like, even the potential for him to stack for a rank 3 was right there. I should have just freaking torrentialed, and it didn't happen. And then to make matters worse, game 2, when I actually did have the foresight to torrential, he Magatarmed, and literally that killed my entire resistance right there for game 2. So it was more of a casual sort of 6 Samurai build. It had stuff like Chancellor Inishi and other just random sort of jank crap, and he still fucking flogged the fuck out of me, which was horrifying, and that actually killed off my chances of a top 8 before I even, that's the part that pissed me off the most about that tournament. I literally was about to just get up and drop out of the tournament, not ever have to actually do this, but I decided, fuck it, I might as well go for the other rounds and push onward. So I did that and got Battlin boxes in round 4. Aside from the one really annoying ruling dispute where my opponent just wouldn't have any of my argument until he basically just decided he wanted to get the game over and done with, and so basically just sort of caved in on the argument there, which he would have lost anyway, because basically he had a lead yoke. I went to Castell to send it back. Castell detached the target, the lead yoke. He chained Forbidden Dress. One of the more obscure sort of rulings, but if you aren't aware, chaining Dress to protect a monster from being targeted does not protect that monster from any targeting effects that have already targeted it. So, in which case, even if he did chain Dress, the Castell had already targeted him and still used him, the effect would still go through. But he wouldn't have any of my argument. He was a moron. So I ended up crushing him there, because he got over the Castell, made another lead yoke. I honor arced it, and so from there I took that one 2-0. And then round 5, I played against Shaddoll heroes. One of oh hi, basically. So what happened there is he was actually good at he was actually pretty good at stalling my moves. He's sort of like, whenever I had a play, he would sort of like get over it with a Mirror Force or a D-Fissure or something like that. And then eventually I just sort of stacked a bunch of Miracle Fusions into my hand, and then basically once I had the opportunity to, I just dropped the Miracles and started just ramming him over there. And then game 2 basically did the same thing. I just sort of rolled him over and smacked him in the chops there. So that was a 3-2 result. So I finished 16th, which, yeah, stupid tiebreakers. I feel like I probably should have maybe finished a little bit higher, but 16th is what I got in the end. And so overall, let's say the hero deck has definitely got some room for improvement. I wanted to run something that was a little bit more Xyz based, but in hindsight, I reckon Masked Heroes would not have come amiss in that tournament at all. So, when I go back to Heroes, I think I'll just go for the Masked Hero build. Speaking of which, next video, I'm going to show off the hero build that I took with me today. My first deck list of the new format. So, stay tuned for that.